Let me ask you something. What if the biggest threat to your super isn't a market crash, isn't inflation, and isn't even the government? What if it's a decision you're about to make on the very first day of your retirement, and you don't even know you're making it wrong? Let me tell you about Dave and Margaret. Not their real names, but their story plays out across Australia more often than you'd think. Dave retired at 62 with a healthy super balance, felt confident, felt like he'd done everything right. Fast forward 8 years, and Margaret is sitting across from a financial advisor asking why their balance is nearly half of what it should have been. Nothing dramatic happened, no crash, no scandal. Just a handful of quiet decisions that nobody warned them about. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what those decisions were, so you don't end up in Margaret's chair. I'm the voice behind RetireScope AU, and every week we break down exactly what Australians nearing retirement need to know about their big super, their pension, and their money, without the jargon and without anyone trying to sell you something. This channel exists because most of what's out there is either too complicated or too generic to actually help you. Before we go further, if you find this useful, hit like, hit subscribe, and if you know someone who's retiring in the next few years, send this to them. It might save them more than you realize. Because what I'm about to walk you through isn't theory, it's the exact traps that quietly drain real people's retirement savings. And trap number 1 catches almost everyone. Here's something most people don't realize. The moment you stop working doesn't automatically change anything with your super. Your fund doesn't know you've retired unless you tell them. Your balance just sits there, still locked under what's called preserved status, and preserved means restricted access. I've heard from more than one person who assumed that turning 65 and leaving their job meant their money was suddenly free to use. It isn't. One bloke I came across had genuinely stopped working for 4 months before he realized his fund still had him down as an active member, simply because nobody told him he needed to notify them. 4 months of stress over money that was technically already his. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. You contact your fund, you tell them you've retired, and if you've got more than one fund, and plenty of people do after changing jobs a few times, you need to tell every single one. That's trap number 1 down, but trust me, it gets more expensive from here. Trap number 2 is the one that actually costs people real money, not just time. Once you've retired, you've technically got 3 paths open to you. You can start an income stream, you can leave your money sitting in an accumulation account, or you can pull it all out as a lump sum. Here's the thing nobody explains properly. These aren't just different flavors of the same outcome. They have completely different tax treatments, completely different flexibility, and completely different long-term consequences. I spoke with someone who pulled a large lump sum out to pay off a car and do some renovations, which sounds harmless enough. Problem is, once that money sits outside super, it starts getting taxed like any other savings, and the earnings that used to be sheltered are now exposed. Later, when they wanted to put some of that money back into super to rebuild the tax advantage, they hit a wall: contribution caps. There's a limit to how much you can put back in each year, and once you're past a certain age, the rules tighten even further. That renovation ended up costing them years of lost tax-free growth they never got back. This is exactly why we built out a full breakdown of all 3 options on RetireScope AU. Because the right choice genuinely depends on your situation, not on whatever option sounds simplest on the day. Now here's trap number 3, and honestly, this is the one that keeps me up at night when I think about how many people are walking straight into it. It's called sequence of returns risk, and almost nobody explains it in plain English, so let me try. While you're working, if the market drops, it barely matters. You're not selling anything, you're still buying in through regular contributions, and markets eventually recover. But once you retire, you're not just sitting on your investments anymore, you're pulling money out of them regularly to live on. Now imagine the market drops right as you start doing that. You're forced to sell investments at a loss just to pay your bills, and that loss becomes permanent because that money is gone. It can't recover with the market anymore. 2 retirees can have the exact same starting balance and the exact same average return over 20 years, and one of them runs out of money a decade earlier than the other, purely because of when the bad years happened. This is why so many retirees quietly shift toward a more conservative mix once they stop working: more cash, more defensive assets, less exposure to those big swings. It's not about giving up on growth completely, it's about not being forced to sell at the worst possible moment. We're now sitting right in the middle of trap territory, so let's talk about something that's genuinely new and catching people off guard this year. From the 1st of July 2026, there's a new tax that applies specifically to large super balances. The earnings on anything above $3 million now get taxed differently. Now, most people watching this aren't sitting on $3 million in super, so don't panic. But here's why I'm mentioning it. It's a reminder that super rules do not stay still. The transfer balance cap has moved multiple times over the years, drawdown rates have been adjusted, and the system keeps shifting under everyone's feet. including people with far more modest balances. If you haven't checked your strategy against the current rules in the last 12 months, you might already be working off outdated assumptions. And that leads straight into trap number 4, the one that catches even careful, well-organized retirees completely off guard: Centrelink. If you're under 67, your super sitting in an accumulation account is generally exempt from Centrelink's assessment. But the second you start an income stream, that changes. The full balance of that pension gets assessed under the assets test, and it also gets counted under the income test through something called deeming. Start that income stream too early, at the wrong time, or without checking the numbers first, and you could quietly reduce your own age pension, or worse, affect your spouse's pension or a disability support payment they're relying on. I've seen couples where one partner started an income stream to access their own money more conveniently, without realizing it would drag down the payments the other partner was receiving. Nobody warned them. It wasn't a mistake they made carelessly. It's a mistake they made because nobody laid the rule out clearly until now. So let's bring this all together. Notify your fund the moment you retire. Don't let your money sit there labeled preserved by accident. Choose between income stream, accumulation, and lump sum based on your actual situation, not on what feels easiest in the moment. Reassess your investment strategy once the regular contributions stop coming in, because withdrawals during a downturn behave very differently to contributions during a downturn. And check how any income stream decision interacts with Centrelink, especially if you or your partner are under 67. None of these traps are complicated once someone actually explains them. That's really the whole problem. Most people just never get the explanation until after the damage is already done. If this helped you see something you hadn't considered before, drop a comment and tell me which one of these 4 surprised you the most. I read every single one. And if you've got a friend or family member who's retiring soon, do them a favor and share this with them. It might be the one video that saves them from becoming the next Dave or Margaret. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.